Hi, recording in progress. Okay, hello.
Being recorded.
I'll go now. Now? Okay. Hi, everyone in the room and on Zoom. I'm Alex, the current President of Education, and I'm going for re-election for the same role because I've enjoyed it so much over the past year. So just quickly, my manifesto for this year is to increase student collaboration between the university and students to really utilise some of the skills that students have. To increase a more sustainable campus, continuing on from last year, there's a lot more work that can be done with that. And free food for thoughts, which is essentially asking students for their great ideas around campus and rewarding them for it as well. I'll leave it there. I think that's 30 seconds. Sweet.
Yeah, I'm not being super strict with the 30 seconds, by the way, candidates. Anyone that's there, that's timed themselves before, apologies. Thank you very much, Alex. We do have a couple of questions for your role. So the first of these, which is a question we'll ask for all candidates, is what would be your #1 priority if elected into the role?
Cool. So this is a tricky one because last year the thing that I prioritised ended up kind of happening alongside everything at once as well. So kind of all of it. More sustainable campus is one that I'm really passionate about though, and something that I put in lots of things aside from what I originally aimed to do. So last year I wanted to just get more secondhand clothes fairs on campus and to the other one. Can't remember the other one because I then focused more broadly on more sustainable campus. So I was approaching the board to try and question them around their net zero target as well. So yeah, I think that's my main priority.
Thank you very much, Alex. A second question we've had specifically for yourself is around one of your manifesto commitments from last year. Forgive me, I can't remember the exact word of it, but course into relationships with courses, networking.
Yeah,
question around what's been done around that manifesto plan.
Yeah, so quite quickly when me and Meg got into our role, so this was a joint campaign that we wanted to run with last year. Quite quickly we realised it needed to be a student-led initiative because it's essentially taking the role of societies. So we were trying to work with Belle and now with Jessie to try and get some more of that in place, and I think we will start to see some of that from the School of School of Social Sciences and Humanities, more multidisciplinary work as well.
Great, thank you very much, Alex. That is all the questions we have for you for now.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I probably stand here. Sorry, is there any questions? Are there any questions in the room or via Zoom for Alex as well? No, you have to look, Alex. You said no. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our other President Education candidate has just entered the room, actually. Really good time. They just connected to audio, so we'll give them a second. Jahanara, I don't know if you can hear us at all. If you can hear us, we actually are just on your role at the moment. If you would like to, if you're able to, if you'd like to just give a quick sort of 30-second introduction to yourself and your campaign. You are mute at the moment, so you'll need to unmute first.
Hi there, everybody. My name's Jahanara. I hope you're all well. I have been on my course now for 3 years. I initially started off in my business course. I started doing my HNC, which then led to my HND, and now I am at level 6 at degree level studying business top up level 6. I'm enjoying the course very much, and I am just grateful for this opportunity. Whether I win or not, I'm just grateful to be a part of this, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Great, thank you very much. And we did have one question for all candidates for this role. Alex has already answered his, so I'll put the same question to you. If you were elected into the role, what do you think would be your #1 sort of priority in the role?
If I was elected for the role, I think speaking to students, because I spoke to students before I came on here, and I have received feedback from students, and a #1 concern of students is they feel like their voice isn't heard. They feel like they feel there's a missing link between communication. Communication can get lost or overlooked sometimes. I feel like students need to feel that we can resolve this issue for them, because they say there's a gap in communication between the students and the university. Sometimes things take longer than expected. So that would be my main issue that I would be looking to resolve.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we move on, just a final chance. Any questions for any of our present education candidates in the room or via Zoom? We've got one in the room. I'm going to repeat your question in case Al doesn't hear you, but go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if you can give us one or two examples of how could you achieve a stronger link between university and students to be heard, particularly through your presidency.
Were you able to hear that, or do you need me to repeat that?
Could you repeat it, please?
Yeah, so it's a question of if you could give one or two examples of how you would like to how you would go about strengthening the link between the university and students. Is that correct? Yeah. How you would go about strengthening that link between the university and students.
Okay. Sorry, is that question to me?
Yeah, that's to you.
Okay. I'd make myself very approachable. I feel like already students do feel that they can approach me, but I think students would welcome a change and benefit from having maybe like a mentor to help them help them break down and manage these responsibilities of maybe with assignment. Sometimes students, they work well when it comes to the assignment, but the pressure of the assignment and meeting the deadline, it can become very difficult for students to try and find that balance between work life and student life. So, as I mentioned, I would implement some.
But if you could hear us, but we did lose you for a second there. Possible connection issues. What we can do is come back to the end of that answer in a moment. I'm just going to give it like another 10 seconds or so in case we've lost the complete. Okay, so we'll move on to the next round, but then we can come back to that answer if we manage to get them back as well. Great. So those are your present education candidates. Next is the school officer role. Oh, hello, we've got you back. Can you hear us? No? The joys of doing candidate question time via hybrid. Okay, we are going to move on. We'll go on to the school officer role. So school officers work very closely with the course reps in each school, and also, of course, as we said earlier, they work closely with President Education as well. Their role is primarily to tackle academic issues that are school-wide, or they might help a course rep if a course rep is struggling to tackle a particular issue. But really, they're there to show, sort of a level of leadership to course reps in that school and work on school-wide sort of academic issues as well. So we do have 4 different school officer roles. We have our social science and humanities school officer role, our business school officer role, engineering, arts, science and technology, or EAST, as I advise you saying it, school officer role, and our health and sports sciences school officer role. So any school officers in the room, I can see one, feel free to come forward. I don't think we have any other school officers on the call at the moment. So what I will say is any candidates that aren't able to attend either virtually or in person, any questions, you still ask questions if you've got some for them. We're going to keep a record of all of those. We will email them out to those candidates and ask them to send in a reply within 24 hours. They can do that via video or text or however they want to do it. And we'll put that on the website in the same place on the website where the recording of this session is as well. Of course, sorry, Bernard, but we do also have Bernard with us as well. Sam, I'm going to come to you first for your 30-second intro, and then we'll come to Bernard. This is our social sciences and humanities school officer candidate, Sam Clark. Over to you.
So I'm going as Centre for Social Sciences and Humanities School Officer. I'm currently a level 5 psychology student. I have a lot of experience. Previously, I graduated here in 2013. Prior to that, I was a course rep and sat for council. I've also, through my work, dealing with complaints, resolving issues and focusing and working out ways to do strategies. So I feel I've got a lot of great skills that I can utilise and bring to the role.
Great, thank you, Sam. And Bernard, I don't know if you want to unmute and say a little bit about yourself and your campaign and your ideas.
Hi, I'm Bernard. I'm a level 5 photography student. I've been a student rep, and this year I'm currently the school officer for East. I'd really like to try to carry on with getting some sort of refreshments in the arts building and to get lighting in the car park behind the nursery. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I will ask you both the same question I asked our present education candidates. If elected, what will be your #1 priority? We're going to do this in reverse order, so we're going to come to Bernard first this time. If elected, what will be your #1 priority?
#1 priority would, I think, have to be the lighting in the car park behind the nursery. It's really dark behind there in the winter, and we are having to use that overflow car park. So the floor isn't level and it's not safe.
Okay, thank you, Bernard. And Sam, same question. What will be your #1 priority if elected into the role?
My #1 priority is breaking down barriers, especially communication barriers and barriers to student motivation. So I want to post and have a physical box on campus where students can post any queries, concerns that they've got. That'll then be raised at meetings and with the presidents, and hopefully find ways to resolve these, especially the motivation one, because I feel a lot of, especially level 5 at the moment with block, there's a dip in motivations. I think speak to the students, find out what's hitting them, and then work out strategies to resolve it.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions from our audience? No, not yet. Do we have any questions via Zoom or in the room for any of the school officers? Even if they're not here, we'll make a log of the questions and make sure they get an answer to you by tomorrow. Nope. We have had 2 questions in for our house school officer candidates specifically. So I'll read those out now, but we'll put those to them by email and hopefully get an answer tomorrow. So one of these is that both Jamie and Connor have similar manifesto points around increasing connections between the degrees. So the question is sort of asking, basically how would you go about doing that? How do we choose between? You've both got a similar point. How do we choose between you on that point? How would you go about doing that? And another point for both house school officer candidates is you've both held similar role. You've both held roles within the Students' Union before. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the achievements and progress you've made in those previous roles? So those will both be put to our candidates that aren't here at the moment, and we'll upload their answers to the website tomorrow.
Something in the chat.
There is something in the chat. Good job, I've got you lot looking, isn't it? Oh, thanks, SU. Fantastic. So we'll move on to our next role, President Activities and Wellbeing. So this is the other of the president roles. So it's a full-time, whoever gets elected into this role, it'll be a full-time paid role. So it'll be their full-time job to represent students. It differs from the education role in that this role focuses very much on sports and societies. And it works on helping develop and increase activity within our sports societies, and also the well-being aspects of the role as well. So various campaigns to try and improve students' well-being. So we do have a number of candidates for this role. We have 5 candidates as well as good old Rom. So we have 3 of those candidates with us today, I think. Yes. So any candidates in the room, if you would like to come forward. And Prince, we've got you on Zoom as well, so we will come to you in a moment for your intro as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
People sound very nice for those speakers, don't they?
Okay. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, we'll start with you, Prince. So if you'd like to just give us a quick introduction to yourself and ideas about the campaign. Over to you.
Okay, my name is Prince Yabo. I'm a business studies student. I would like to go briefly because of the time. I'm a apprentice nurse in Cambridge Hospital. I would like to stand for this position because of my experience requires to. Why? Because I'm a nurse and I know the well-being of how students are suffering mentally, and also, I mean, so many students fail or drop out because of their well-being, regards to financing or academically or family issues and stuff. So with that regard, that's why I decided to join this this trade to fight for students. Thank you.
Thank you, Prince. And next, we're going to come to our candidate, Meg. 30 seconds, a little bit about you, your campaign, your ideas.
Okay, so I'm Meg, the current president of Activities and Wellbeing, and it's such a great year, and I just want to continue the good work and all of the positive change that me and Alex have made. So we want to continue that. So I'll be rerunning with 3 main manifesto points. The first one is an SU garden. So my previous manifesto point was green space, and it's longer than a year's project. So we need to continue that, and I really just want to transform that courtyard into a space that we can all enjoy and have events in there. So that links in with my second manifesto point, which is to do with more events. So between freshers and refreshers, I want to have continued events for students, whether that be wellbeing events, so using the garden that we can hopefully get, so that we can have things like maybe like yoga and things in the garden, and other wellbeing events like crafty type things. Also like pub quiz nights, more of those, nights out. So whatever students' preferences and events, we have an event that can suit them. And then my last one is, so I want to make social sport free for everyone. So you can come whenever you like, to whatever you like, and however many times you like, and it'll be free. So that's kind of the feedback we got from health students, that they felt that they couldn't attend social sport because they didn't want to pay the membership because they couldn't attend all. So this having it free will mean that they can attend when they can, and they won't be losing out on anything, but they will be gaining, because I think sports is great. So we need to get more people at sports.
Great, thank you very much, Meg. And our final candidate that's in the room at the moment is Dara. So over to you for a quick 30 seconds.
Hi, I'm Dara, and I'm running on 3 manifesto points. The first one surrounds sexual well-being. So this looks at sexual health and also sexual violence, and really tackling that on campus and ensuring that the university is doing what they can to make sure that these issues are central, and ensuring that students are safe on their campuses. The second is society incentives. It's been really a tough year. As a member on many society committees myself, and as an officer, it's been incredibly difficult to get students engaged. So I want to work with consultation from the students to ensure that we are doing what we can to support societies and also encourage students to come along. And finally, I want to work on inclusive education. I think there is a lot that can be done to ensure that all the liberation roles are actually referenced and included in policies and the curriculum. And I really want to see that come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all our candidates that have given their introduction to us. I'm going to ask the same question to you all that was asked of other candidates as well. So if elected, what will be your #1 priority in the role? So we'll take it in reverse order. So we'll start with Dara this time.
So I don't think I can pick a single manifesto point as the most important, but one thing that's central to all of them is consultation with students, and ensuring that I'm actually doing what students want me to do, because it's great having all the ideas, but I've got to make sure that the students around me also want that. And I know that these topics are key ones that keep coming up, but what to do about them really needs student input as well.
Thank you. Meg?
Again, tricky question, because a lot of things are important, but I think my main thing is is that keeping up the support and the relationships that I've already built with students. I think that's important, and listening to what they actually want. But when it comes to manifesto point, I think the SG garden, because well-being is so important to me, and I think it is for everyone. So to get that space where people can just sit and relax and be outside in the fresh air and having events in there as well, I just think that just brings them all together. So that would be my main focus.
Thanks, Meg. And Prince, same question. If elected into the role, what would be your #1 priority?
Thank you. It looks like all the candidates are talking about events and all that, but if without communication, somebody to talk to, because it's a well-being, without communication, effective communication, it's going to be very, very difficult for students to, even though you are creating events. So my major priority is create a board, which is a council board, whereby students with difficulties, whether financially, academically, family related, anything at all, or come, then ask any question, talk to us. We will advise you how to do and how to go by it. And then if you are stressed out with anything regards to your well-being, we will deal with it. And secondly, there will be what do you call it? A fundraising that I will create for those who are finding it difficult to cope with academic things that they are not able to get. We will be able to support them in that sector. Thank you.
Thanks, Prince, and all our candidates for answering that question. We did have a question earlier for Alex around the course networking. It was a question asked to both Alex and Meg. So Meg, just a chance if you would also like to say anything around that joint manifesto point you had with Alex last year around course. Sorry, I'm getting the wording wrong, so you tell me what the wording is. Course networks, yeah. That's it.
It's going to be reiterating what Alex said. It's as soon as we got into our role, we quickly learned that it needed to be a student-led initiative. So we have been keeping an eye on it on the background and encouraging sport and societies to come forward and things, but it's an ongoing project. Thanks,
Big. So just a chance for any questions for anyone in the room or via Zoom for any of our candidates. We've got one here from Sam.
So I've done a lot with society stuff, as you both know. Main thing is students at the moment, there's been a dip in people attending societies, joining societies, especially some of the fairs. What things would you kind of do to kind of support that, but also investigate why?
Is that for all candidates?
All candidates.
Yeah, great. So we will go with Meg first this time.
Okay. So I think it's the launch of getting everybody back on campus and back into things. We've seen engagement because of COVID. So it's that like we need to bring that back up again. And I think what it was is where we've seen it go down is actually the people that were running this society really like flourishing and doing really well. And they sort of slipped because the people that were running them have now graduated, and because there was no society action going on, they didn't have people to step up, or they didn't have people to look up to. So it's basically encouraging people to be the new next leaders of these societies. So it's just talking to people and really giving them that encouragement. You know, if it's something that they're interested in, to just give it a go. And I think we've already started that by just every student we talk to, we say, like, is there anything that you're interested in? You know, because society is such a great way, because I was a part of lots of societies, it's such a great way to take away the stresses of your actual uni degree. It's just something like, you know, to focus on. Yeah. So it's just talking to people. I think that's the most powerful way.
Thank you, Meg. Dara, we're going to come to you next on that question.
So I don't think this is just a COVID issue, if I'm honest. I noticed when I was in my first year, we had societies and they were running, but there was 25 of them. There wasn't lots of options. You didn't get a lot of choice. And for the amount of students on campus, it felt like there wasn't very much going on. So really, how do I plan on incentivizing students to come along? That's consultation with students. That would be talking to them, arranging surveys. But something that I have an idea of, which might not come to fruition, but is an idea that I have, is potentially doing almost like the reward card scheme. So try out a new society, and if you go, you get a stamp on your reward card, and then you get a coffee, and it gives them the chance to trial a session, and it kind of encourages them to go along, because it can be really daunting to go alone. And then to support societies, the thing that made it really difficult for me specifically when I was on a committee was it took so much time to plan an event that you didn't know if it was going to come and people were actually going to go along. So I want to establish a set of pre-made activity plans where a society can take the paperwork, pick a date, and they can just put it on. The risk assessment's done, the event plan is done, and they might need to do a little bit of personalization, but in general, less than an hour's work. So yeah, that's how I do it.
Thank you, Dara. And Prince, I'm just going to reiterate the question because it's been a while since we heard it. So is it a fair summary to say, in general, the question is how would you go about increasing engagement with societies? Is that...
Yeah, I think it's said there's been such a difference in people, and I think block learning has helped with motivation for a lot of the level 5s. So I think it's what can the presidents do to kind of boost it and support the students, and because I've found going to societies is like good for your mental health. I've enjoyed it and it's been great. So it's what can be carried on to help others.
Okay, so Prince, your chance to answer. So in general, how would you help increase engagement with societies if you were elected into the role?
Thank you for the question. There is another what they call it. There's another agenda that I created in case I'm voted, is to create with the help of Student Union Board. We will create a website whereby you can book anything that you want. You want to have a counseling, you want to have anything that you want to talk about, you will have it there. Aside that, there will be an event where it will take the whole week. We will celebrate that the whole week, which will not only involve just a particular set of people, it's the whole campus. With the help of the Student Union, we will do this in the whole week. We will do that, celebrating each day will be a different program. Each day will be a different program for the whole week. In this case, everybody will partake and then have a better experience, and then will moreover help them to overcome the stress and whatever it is. You will overcome it. In that case, everybody will join in and then participate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prince. We've got another hand from Sam, so go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, I've got a follow-up question for Prince after his
go ahead.
If that's okay. You were saying about the website, but how is that different to the Student Union website at the moment? Because all the societies have a page, all events are listed, and it goes to social media. How would yours be different to that?
Can you hear that question okay, Prince, or do you need me to repeat that?
Yes, I heard that. Thank you so much. The website is more like a group page whereby everybody can join. The whole school, you will announce to the school where everybody can join, that you can put on your question and everything there. Aside that, with the help of the Student Union, the page will be, will be there. We will create another space for that, whereby students can pop in there. It's in the same portal. You can pop in and then put on your questions, put on your concern and everything, and then it will be clearly seen by the officials, and then we will deal with it. So it won't be different websites or different no, it's going to be on the same page, or whether in the portal or Student Union website, whereby you can just log in and then have easy access to it, and then you can put on your concern. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Prince. Any final questions for any of our activities and wellbeing candidates? But one question right at the back. I'm going to repeat your question because you're quite far back.
I just want to bring it back a little bit. There's a question to Dara about what would you do for sports?
For sports.
So I'm just going to repeat the question. So there was a question specifically for Dara around what Dara would offer for sports.
So that's very much, I see sports and societies as very similar. They are both activities that are, although the sports are slightly more organised through the SU, they have a committee and it's a way students engage. So it'd be very similar. And obviously they wouldn't have the event packs because their events are they put on the sport. But we could still do the coffee redeeming, and I still want to talk to them about why do they attend sports, what makes them enjoy sports, and what would make them want to go to a new sport. And also speak with the health students specifically, because I know that a lot of them really struggle engaging because they're away on placement for weeks at a time. So finding out what could really help them.
Okay, thank you very much, Tara. Thank you very much, all of our activities and wellbeing candidates. You are free to take your seats again. I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone that asked those questions. Really good discussion. So we're going to move on to our liberation officer roles now. All of them except for one. We're going to do the women's officer roles separately because we do have a few more candidates for that role. So liberation officers are elected to represent specific liberation groups of students across the university. So if you're elected, say for instance, as the BAME officer, you would represent BAME students across the whole of the University of Suffolk. So these officer roles sit on student council, student officer committee. Most of them will have some form of liberation society attached as well. Generally, it's their role to run campaigns and events for those liberation groups. So I'm going to invite candidates for students with caring responsibilities, students with disabilities, mature students, and LGBT plus candidates to come to the front. We do have one of our mature student candidates in via Zoom as well, or we did. Yes, they are still with us as well, so we'll call on to them in a minute. We're going to start with the 30-second pitch. So you're closest to me, Jamie. So do you want to start with your 30-second pitch of whatever you want?
Yeah, I'm Jamie. I'm the current president of the Students with Disabilities Society, and through that I've seen from people that there's a lot of different things about the university that they haven't felt has been listened to or anything, and I kind of, in the society, I don't have like the power to do anything, so that's why I wanted to become the officer, to try and actually be able to put what they want and try into place and like talk to people that can make the changes as well, like the presidents and stuff, to try and make make the uni better place for students with disabilities.
Thank you very much. Jess?
Hi, I'm Jess. I am the current LGBT president of the society. Yeah, you get what I'm doing. I'm running my 3 manifesto points, kind of coincide, is to not only work within the LGBT community within the university, but also around the community of Ipswich, and to create connections. Also for a monthly drop-in session, to hear all the voices of the LGBT community, to see what we can improve, what our goals are, and what they'd like to see, and increase communication between myself and the other liberation officers. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. We do have one of our candidates for mature students officer via Zoom as well. Alexandre, I don't know if you could unmute and say a quick 30 seconds about you and some of your ideas if you were elected.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alexander Correa. I'm doing the business management degree. And what happened is I'm trying to apply for this position as supporting of parents and the old generation, as I am, to be honest. So basically, I can suffer a little bit of dyslexia, and being quite difficult for me and the university themselves to try to get any support for dyslexia. So I'm trying to support everybody as I can who has mental health problems. And yeah, there I am.
Great, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask each of you the same question I've asked all the other candidates. If elected into the role, what would be your #1 priority? So Alexandre, we started with you, we finished with you, so we'll come back to you now as well. If elected, what would be your #1 priority? What would be the one thing you would prioritise above everything else in the role?
I would say support the parents, because once I'm a parent myself, I kind of understand it's quite difficult for the parents to be able to be in education and university and support their own children themselves. So I would say I would create sort of a teaching, just face to face, not face to face, sorry, in Zoom. So for the parents who loses the classes, will be as much support as I can.
Thank you very much. And Jeff, to you next. What would be your #1 priority if elected in the role?
I think just listening to all the communities within the LGBT community, and focusing on each of them one and working with them and the other officers and the other societies and working with everyone. Yeah.
Jamie, same question.
Well, firstly, I want to get the lanyards for all disabled students to be offered by the uni. Yeah, if you don't know what they look like this. Yeah, and also I want to with the block learning, I want to have discussions with the university about from the students' perspective. So talk to the students and find out what they want from block learning that would help them, because I think the current structure of the block learning does not support a lot of people, well, not just with disabilities, but anyone really, but specifically within the people with disabilities. I think it, so yeah, working with them, having the discussions and find out what they want and what they need so that they can have a better time at university and to make their learning easier for them. So yeah.
Thank you very much. And we're going to open it out to anyone in the room and anyone via Zoom. That rhymes. If you would like to ask any questions for any candidate running for any of the roles up on the screen. So students with caring responsibilities, LGBT officer, mature students officer, and students with disabilities officer. If you've got any questions for any of them, even if they're not with us today, still ask the question. We'll keep a record of that, and we'll make sure that goes to those candidates and they get a response back. I've got one hand up from Sam, so go ahead.
I have two. I've got one for the student disabilities officer and one for the mature students officer. So sorry, Jamie. As a student with a disability and doing block learning, we find especially applying for deferrals and extenuating circumstances very difficult. Have you got any plans to maybe help and support students with that?
Sorry, did people hear that okay on the call?
Yep.
So summary is around block learning and what we do to help support students with disabilities.
It's more the extenuating circumstances.
Extenuating
disabilities at the moment, there's not enough there to help support to get deferrals. So have you got anything maybe in place that you would think about to support those students, but also liaise with the President of Education as well to hopefully touch?
Yeah, hopefully if I'm elected, I've had to go through the deferrals and stuff yeah, I think a complete change of it is needed, because I think it's even when you apply for it, you don't have a clue, if you've been, especially with block learning, you apply for it and then, well, your course is 4 weeks and your module is 4 weeks and it's not, you don't find out anywhere near the time. So you don't have a clue, and then you could be left in a situation where you are just behind and you have no, you're behind and you're capped or you failed or whatever. And I think there needs to be, yeah, really changed so that it works better with the block learning as well. And even if you do get an extension, because they are 4 weeks, you're just then behind for your next module, and your year is pretty much, you're playing catch up all year, and it's just, it's really hard to get back in a position where you are on top of stuff. And yeah, I think that really needs to be looked at, and that's something I definitely want to discuss with the president and in the university. Yeah.
Thank you. You see, you have a second question as well?
Yes, for Alexandra. Being a mature student myself, when I started back here, there didn't seem to kind of be with societies or even sort of officer support in place as a new mature student, is there maybe things you could put in place to help support brand new mature students? Because I know you discussed about ones with kids, but that's not me. I'm just a mature student coming back to university when I'm about 10 years older at least than most of my cohort, and it doesn't seem to be that kind of support in place at the moment.
Did you hear that question okay, Alexandra?
As I understand, that's a difficult one, to be honest with you. But I believe putting something together as a mature student, be able to do some work in some companies, some firms, so they can improve their own skills in a different way instead of being inside the class, I would say so.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Any other questions by Zoom? We've got a hand up here. Go ahead.
It's a question for the LGBT officer. I was wondering, do you have like ideas and stuff like maybe events or like organizations that you want to like set up and things to help support LGBT individuals and stuff?
Okay. One of the things I've heard a lot about is members of the LGBT community not feeling that sports is inclusive. And I've had conversations around it before, and it is made as inclusive as possible, but I think there could be more specifically for the LGBT community within university. And I don't know about the rest of it. I'm sorry for that.
Great. Any final questions in the chat? Actually, the chat's been kicking on. All right, just someone thanking me. That's fine. Thank you very much, candidates for our liberation roles. You are free to take your seats again. And thank you for those on Zoom as well. So we will come on to our next set of roles, which is our women's officer candidates. So I can see two physically in the room. So we do have 4 candidates standing for this role. 2 of them are in the room with us at the moment. I don't think any are on Zoom. So Alicia, you're closest to me, so we'll start with you. A little introduction from you about your campaign.
Cool. Hi, I'm Alicia and I study politics. And I have 3 points. My first one is to make Ipswich safer at night. So I'd like to increase lighting along the waterfront by speaking to the council. And secondly, I'd like to work with a charity called the Ipswich Town Pastors to increase their presence whilst out at night and also to help students and women at night. My second point is that I'd like to organise a women's social night. So this would be like an informative once a month event with different leaders and inspirational women. So women in art, women in STEM, sports women, things like that. And then my third point is to introduce the girls. This Girl Can, campaign to the university, both so that our sports are inclusive as possible for women, how we can support them to feel comfortable, but also to empower women to join in. As 2 of our Bucks teams, the women's and the badminton team, weren't able to compete this year, unfortunately, just because we didn't have enough female players. So yeah, I'd like to do that.
Thank you very much, Eloise.
Hi, I'm Eloise, and I'm studying psychology and criminology. I'm in my 3rd year at the moment, and I'm applying to do a master's in crime and victimization next year. My main goal is to see women. That's my slogan, and that stands for safety, equality, and empowerment, which I want to achieve in a variety of ways. But yeah, those are my 3 main points.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask you both the question I've asked all candidates. So if elected into the role, what will be your number 1 priority? Eloise, we'll start with you this time.
So my number 1 priority would be safety in my 3 main goals. And by doing that, I want to increase the safety on campus, in accommodations, and just around Ipswich in general for women, because I understand how it feels to feel unsafe as a student here. One of the main things I want to do with that is to make it easier for women to go somewhere and to report anything that makes them feel unsafe, and perhaps set up like a group of like women's advocates type of thing, somewhere that people can go to to like talk about these things that happen to them and find ways to get support.
Leisha, same question. If elected, what would be your number one priority?
So mine's safety as well. I think the waterfront run's really important because you can be like a couple of 100 meters away from someone and you can't see their face, which I think is really scary in some aspects. And it's also like a main walkway for women at night coming back from the unit and other venues in Ipswich. And I think increasing the presence of the town passes would be really beneficial for our women as well.
Thanks both. So any questions from anyone via Zoom or in the room? And Sam, we've got a question for you.
Sorry, I do apologise.
That's what we're here for.
You're both talking about safety and women's. What about women that have, something has happened to them? Is there going to be sort of any support out there to really support them and be a safe place that they can talk about these experiences and hopefully have avenues for help?
Leisha, you want to go first on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would need to communicate with students as well about how specifically they would like this done, whether there could be a support group set up for them, whether they need access to resources outside of the university as well as help from within the university. But that's definitely something I'd really like to work on within the role.
Louise?
So for me, as I said about like having a group of like women advocates and stuff, I'd like that to, I mean, that can be online and in person as well, like we would have meetings and stuff. Or even like an anonymous way to ask a question, to ask for support. And also I'd like to be able to connect with like things like victim support and like companies and organizations like that that can give advice and just like be able to talk to women more about that so they know where they can go to ask for that help and to get the help they need.
We've got a question from Dara at the front as well.
My question is regarding safety in accommodation, specifically because we don't own it. The University of Suffolk doesn't own any specific accommodation blocks as their own. So what do you foresee that looking like?
So just to clarify, the screen's gone off here, but it's coming back. The system's shutting itself down, but we'll get our screen back in a minute. Eloise, you go first.
So in accommodation, obviously it is currently run by Collegiate, I think it is, that's the Athena Hall one is the main one. I would like to work with like I mean the team members there, but also there are other accommodations like for students here as well. I think the main thing for that would be kind of like discussing with them ways to improve their security, and also like again like with the anonymous like asking questions, that sort of thing. Even just like putting posters up to say this is where you can go to get support, this is where you can go to get help. Kind of just like linking to all the different accommodations, talking to their staff members, improving security. I think that's the main thing that I would try and do.
Leisha?
I do believe with Athena there's already a system set up between the university and Athena, but there's obviously broadening that and making students aware of that as well. And like Eloise said, having resources within there and stuff, I think would be really beneficial.
Any more questions for our women's officer candidates? One at the back.
I just wanted to quickly touch upon the sanitaries at the toilets. I've noticed, or at least, yeah, it's the red box, it's called. Just something about that. Would it be possible to be every single women's toilet around campus, or would you think about that, Jack?
Yeah, definitely. So like within the role, that is something, an example of something I'd want to talk to students about, as I hadn't noticed that previously, but obviously if I became women's officer, I'd then become more aware of these issues, but that definitely sounds like something that should be inputted.
I agree with that completely. It is something that I had noticed as well. I think maybe obviously connecting with the university again and asking them like, how can we improve this? Or even like setting up kind of like a donations type of thing, where if people have more than they need, they can give it so that the university can use it as well. Because I know that those products are not exactly cheap. And yeah, I feel like that would probably be beneficial as well.
Great. Do we have any more questions via Zoom or in the room for any of our women's officer candidates? No? Thank you very much, both.
Thank you.
I don't know why the screen's not coming back. It was initially shutting itself down and then it was starting itself up again. And now it's not really doing anything.
If you keep touching it, that's what happened.
I'll just keep, every now and then I just keep poking it to see if that will work, but it doesn't seem to. And you can see the screen. Oh yeah, yeah, it's just this part of the projector. Anyway, doesn't matter if anyone on Zoom, don't worry about it. We'll make do without for the final role. So a final set of roles is our campus officer roles. So we currently only have candidates for one of these posts. So we have three campus officer posts available. We've got candidates for one of those posts, which is the LSC London officer role. So essentially, yeah, great. So yeah, essentially the role of this person's job, if they're elected into the role, is to represent students at LSC London campus, University of Suffolk students at LSC London campus, run campaigns on any issues that affect them, help with the student senior support, put on events for those students, and represent those students' views in student council and student officer committee. So we have two candidates running for LSC London officer. One of them is with us at the moment, Prince, if you're still there, I hope you are. So we'll come to you, Prince, for some words, if you're still there. Maybe you're not anymore. In which case, it doesn't matter that my screen's not working anymore because Prince isn't there. Okay, that's not a problem. Just to note, we do have those two candidates running. If you do, does anyone have any questions for the LSC London officer role? If so, we will send them out to Prince and Gabor and get answers to you by tomorrow. No answers. No questions. Just to note, we do, as I've just alluded to, we do have 4 unfilled roles that we don't have any candidates running. Well, technically all the roles are unfilled at the moment because we've not done voting, but no one running for 4 of the roles. So part-time students officer, postgraduate students officer, Bury campus officer, and East Coast College campus officer. So those are people sitting at Lowestoft and Great Yarmouth campuses. So if you personally are interested or know anyone that might be interested in those roles, get them to drop me a message. My email is would be on the screen. My email is su.democracy@uos.ac.uk. We will arrange by-elections for those roles in the near future. Again, I've got a lovely little slide here reminding you to vote. So voting opens tomorrow at 9 AM. So anyone watching this recording, chances are, if you're watching the recording, voting is probably open. So go on and vote. You're probably on our website. So go to the top bit where it says vote, click on that, and you'll be guided through how to vote. A reminder, anyone watching is live now, voting will open at 9 AM tomorrow. So make sure you log on at 9:01 and cast your vote. Dramatic statement, campaigning can now begin, candidates. We are officially in campaigning. So get those posters up, put those social media posts out. Yeah, I want to see loads of activity around campus.
Would anyone like to vote Meg and Alex sticker?
There we go. Campaigning has begun. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for those who joined us via Zoom. Thank you for joining.